Well, you've also in the book talked about how the unions is an example of how the government is becoming a mafia democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, were you yourself involved in the unions during your heyday?
Yes.
Explain how you were involved.
Well, I had control of a local that had bartenders and waitresses. I also had the security guards union. Security guard union that we had, I don't know if you know this, but we had people stationed at some nuclear power plants, 9 of them altogether. And the law at that time, I don't know if it's changed, is that when a nuclear power plant closes down, you have to have security around it for 100 years. 100 years, even though it's closed down. And so the mob was protecting the nuclear power plants that we had because we control the unions. You know, waitresses and bartenders, I had control of those unions because, you know, we installed the delegates in there. We installed the president of the union. And basically we used it as a tool. You know, you go into a restaurant, hey, you want the union? No? Okay, we're going to pick it and so on and so forth. Otherwise, you can pay us $25,000 every Christmas. We'll leave you alone. And so we use the unions in that way. And then, you know, even if we didn't control the union, our other, you know, associates did, and we made deals with them construction-wise and every other way so that, you know, we can use the unions again to make money off of contractors like Trump and all the big ones, Helmsley. So people say all the time, you know, was Trump involved with the mob? Every major contractor was involved with the mob. They had to be. Every developer, you know, every real estate guy. But not to the point where he sat down with us and, you know, we controlled him in any way.
Okay, so how do you compare that to what the government's doing with the unions?
Well, again, it's money, you know. When they cater to the unions have a huge voting block for them. And they also have huge pension funds that they contribute at the time of campaigning. You know, and they basically buy votes by giving the unions favors. That's what they do. Because, you know, again, there's power in numbers. And these unions have big membership. And they also have big money. And they support that candidate. And in return, the candidate has to do their bidding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of unions at all. I kind of feel like it artificially creates, you know, an environment that doesn't really promote good business. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, you look at like the teachers union, and it's almost impossible to get fired as a teacher if you're in the union. So what do? They just move them into the lower income neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. So then you have these lower income neighborhoods that are already struggling with the worst teachers in the area that are creating even worse students, you know, creating high dropout rates. So it's almost like sometimes you could almost say that the schools are creating the bad neighborhoods. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to like, this is just a shitty teacher. Get rid of him or her.
Exactly.
And that's that.
But it's not easy. They can't get rid of him so
exactly.
easily. And let me ask you another question. Why do government workers need a union? Who are they protecting themselves against? The government? You know, I mean, it's the biggest scam in the world. I mean, you know, the government is not supposed to be taking advantage of people that work for them, but they have a union to protect them against their employers, and their employers happen to be the government.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as someone who has close to 20 employees now, I fully support worker rights. Mm-hmm. I feel that there are certain laws that you have to follow, which we do, and so forth. But to bring in another entity on top of that, I feel is just ridiculous.
I agree.
Yep.